Every night, a woman walks past my window. I live on the fourth floor. She shouldn't be able to do that. I moved into this apartment a few months ago. The main selling points were the price and the quiet. The rent was a steal, and the building was, well, it was more than quiet. It was silent. The kind of oppressive silence where you start to wonder if anyone else actually lives there. You never hear footsteps in the hall. Never hear muffled TVs through the walls. At night, when I look out, mine is often the only light on. It's an old, blocky building, the kind that looks like it was designed by someone who hated windows. My bedroom window, my only window, faces another building just like it. There's about 6 meters of dark, empty air between them. A concrete canyon, no balconies, no fire escapes, just a sheer drop to the alley below. The first time I saw her, I almost dismissed it. It was late. I was tired, and I was just about to close the blind. It was a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. I thought it was just a reflection on the glass, maybe a car passing on a distant street. But I looked again, and there she was, a woman walking calmly past my window. She was about my height, with long, dark hair that didn't move in the wind. She was wearing something that looked like a heavy, old-fashioned coat, even though it was the middle of summer. She passed from left to right, her pace steady and outside my window on the fourth floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. I scrambled to the window, pressing my face against the cool glass, trying to see where she went. But there was nothing, just the dark brick wall of the opposite building and the empty space in between. I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak of the old building, every gust of wind made me jump. The next morning, driven by a mix of fear and a desperate need for a rational explanation, I did a thorough investigation. I leaned as far out of my window as I dared, craning my neck to look down, then up. Nothing. No ledge. No scaffolding. No forgotten maintenance platform. The wall was perfectly flat. I even went outside and stared up at my own window from the alleyway, trying to map out any possible route. There was none. It was impossible. I told myself I was stressed, working too much. My mind was playing tricks on me. A waking dream. That had to be it. But then she came back the next night. I was trying not to look, pretending to read a book, but my eyes kept darting towards the window. And then, at exactly 12:43 a.m., the same time as the night before, she appeared. Same woman, same dark coat, same unhurried walk from left to right. She never looked towards me. Her face kept perfectly in profile. It was like watching a movie scene projected onto the air itself. The impossible was happening again. And it was happening on a schedule. It became a ritual. Every night at 12:43 a.m., she would make her journey past my window. After a week of this silent nightly parade, my terror began to curdle into a strange kind of morbid curiosity. I started to notice details. Horrible little details. For one thing, she never blinked. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead. And her feet, they didn't seem to connect with anything. She wasn't walking so much as gliding. Her movements were unnervingly smooth, like a camera on a dolly track. There was no bob or sway, none of the subtle imperfections of a human gait. She just moved. The 12th night was different. She appeared at 12:43, as always, but this Jimmy, as she reached the center of my window, she slowed down. Her smooth glide became a crawl. And then, for the first time, she turned her head just a few degrees, not enough to look directly at me, but enough for the angle of her face to change. It was a deliberate, calculated movement. It was a message. She knew I was watching. The cold dread that washed over me was absolute. This wasn't a memory, not an echo. It was aware. The next day I cornered the building manager, a tired-looking man who seemed annoyed by my very existence. I tried to sound casual. Hey, just a weird question. I started, has anyone, passed away in the building recently? He gave me a long, weary look. Not in this building, he said, his voice flat. He turned to leave, then hesitated. He looked back at me, a strange expression on his face, and not recently. That was all he would say. His words hung in the air, heavy with things left unsaid. Which building? And how long ago was not recently? I knew I was being an idiot, but that night I couldn't help myself. I waited for her 12:43 a.m. She appeared gliding into view as usual, but she didn't pass by. She stopped, dead center, right in front of my window. And then, slowly, she turned her head and looked directly at me. My breath caught in my throat. It was the face. Her face was wrong. It wasn't scarred or decayed or monstrous in any typical way. It was just empty. The features were all their eyes, nose, mouth, butt. They were like a bad sketch, like someone was wearing a mask of a human face without understanding the emotions it was supposed to convey. Her eyes were just dark, vacant holes. I stumbled back from the window, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I spent the rest of the night huddled in the corner of my living room, as far from the bedroom as I could get, with every light in the apartment blazing. The next morning, I found a piece of paper taped to the outside of my apartment door. It was a single, folded sheet. My hands trembled as I took it down and unfolded it. The handwriting was jagged, panicked. It was one sentence. Don't let her know you can see her. Too late. Far, far too late. That night, my fear was so profound, it was almost paralyzing. But I had to look. I had to know. 12:43 a.m. She appeared, but she didn't stop in the middle this time. She came closer. Not closer to my building, but closer to the window itself, as if the empty air had planes and dimensions I couldn't see. She drifted forward until she was just inches from the glass. And then her hand came up. Pale, long fingers reached out and touched the pane. I didn't hear a sound, but I felt it. A deep, resonant cold that seeped through the glass, through the air, and into my bones. And that's when I finally understood. I don't think she walks outside my building. I don't think she's in the alleyway or on some invisible ledge. I think she walks between places, in a space that isn't here or there. And my window, my apartment, it's just in her way. A momentary intersection on her path. 4:12 night. She didn't even notice me. But then I noticed her. I acknowledged her. And that gave her a reason to stop. She doesn't walk past my window anymore. Now, she just stands there every night on the other side of the glass, watching me. I've tried boarding up the window, but it doesn't matter. I can still feel her there. I can see her silhouette against the woods. She's watching, and I think she's learning how to get through, how to cross the threshold. Last night, for the very first time, she smiled.